Hello, so today we will analyze round 3 of the Philippine Amateur Chess Championships. I'm playing with the black pieces and I'm playing against a 1900 in this game. Okay, so my opponent plays c4, the English opening, and here I just play c5. This is my first time playing against it over the board. I learned the way to play against this like 5 months ago, and then now that I'm facing it, 5 months later, I forgot everything. I forgot like 90%. So knight f3, knight c6. So I'm playing this game without any idea of what to do at all, because I had learned this 5 months ago, but forgot everything because I had never faced this opening online. But now I'm playing against it. G3 here, and I play G6. My opponent plays bishop to G2. What was that? And here I play bishop to G7. Fianchettoing the bishop. Castles. Uh, Castles, knight to f6, d4, c takes, knight takes, castles, and here we get knight to c3, and this is known as a Maroczy bind, but the Maroczy bind usually has e4. This is a Maroczy bind without the pawn on e4. Instead we get g3, because if you go e4 now, it just closes off your bishop from active play. And so far this is unfamiliar to me because this is my first time playing it, so of course I'm gonna have no idea to do, but I still remembered here to play queen to a5, and after knight to b3 to play queen to h5. And the only idea I remember was starting an attack here on the king side with d6, and then the bishop going to h3, and then maybe knight g4. That's the only idea I remembered. And here my opponent plays knight to d5, and after a few minutes of thought, I finally remembered his idea, but I forgot what to play against it. The idea is that after I play d6 preventing c5, which would prevent d6, my opponent would go knight to f4, which is exactly what happened in the game. And I play queen to f5, and here my opponent spent around 30, I think like 10 minutes on this move, knight to d5. And after d6, knight to f4, queen to f5, immediately plays f3, which is an interesting idea. And I have no clue how to play against this move. Like, okay, yeah, e4 is coming, so I guess I'll just drop the queen back to d7. And after I drop the queen back to d7, here my opponent plays bishop to e3. Uh, and just developing the bishop. And the idea he had in mind after the game, I understood. It was to play bishop e3, bishop f2, and then e4. That was his idea. Because if you go e4 now, I guess it kind of weakens this diagonal first. But my opponent plays bishop to e3. I play b6 here, natural move. And after I learned how to play against this, my only wrong move after rook c1 was a move bishop to b7. You see, after this game, I was determined to learn this opening, and now I know how to play against it, but I haven't faced it online yet. But I literally wrote it down in notes just so I can remember it for the next tournament. The move here is to play bishop to a6. This should be the better idea, with an idea that here mainly revolves around pressuring the c-pawn. This is the common idea I see in the Maroczy bind. It's always to attack this weak c-pawn here. If you ever push b3, I guess it weakens this long diagonal and allows for a5, a4 ideas. But anyway, I play bishop to b7, which is the wrong idea here, and my opponent plays bishop to f2, preparing e4. So I go rook f d8 here. Rook f d8, just putting a rook here, just removing the pin here. And the only idea I know here is to always prevent c5. I didn't I didn't know why my opponent then just played this. Oh, right, forgot the knight's defending. Oh yeah, now I understand why I played rook f d8. I wanted to move this knight so that c5 wouldn't come in. Because now if I move the knight, like let's just say anywhere, I was annoyed at this move here. Oh, I've actually turned off the evaluation there. I was annoyed at this move here, and then like if I take with the c pawn, then I lose the queen. So like I didn't really like that, and then if I went here, then just knight takes, and they have a strong position here. I didn't really like this, so I decided to play rook fd8 here, um, to defend the queen here, so that I can move this knight in the future, maybe to like what is that? Yeah, to c7. My opponent here plays e4 here, and after e4, I go rook a c8. So yeah, I didn't know that maybe it involves pressuring this pawn. But what I forgot is bishop a6 is the better move against bishop b7 instead of bishop b7. This was the better move. My opponent plays bishop to h3, defended by the knight, forcing me to play e6 here, because if I move the queen, obviously they just take the free exchange. And after e6, my opponent plays knight to d4. Knight to d4, centralizing the knight, and I just decided to take, and they take with the bishop. After taking with the bishop, I decided to play queen to e7, and they played queen to e2. I played knight to d7, and here my opponent plays rook c d1. So far we have a position where I think white is better here because of how passive my pieces here are, but apparently the engine's saying I'm better. And if I go here, I'm pretty sure there was just this move, knight to d5, and after takes they would take like this. If I take, then I lose the queen. So yeah, there isn't any fork here, if in case you're wondering. I didn't play this because then it would, I mean, this isn't really something I want to do here, closing off my own bishop, giving up the bishop pair, allowing them to activate their bishop. But for some reason, the engine's crazy here and saying that I'm slightly better. So yeah, that's crazy, but I think I'm worse here, practically speaking, because of how passive my pieces are. I didn't play e5. Instead, I just played bishop to a6. And now this is worse for me because I should have just played bishop to a6. What move was that on? Let me just search here. On move, what was it? On move 14, I should have just played bishop to a6. But now I played it here, and now I'm wasting a tempo. And after b3, now I'm slightly worse here, according to the engineer, and that's because I just wasted a tempo playing bishop to b7 and then bishop to a6 here. And I think it would be a better evaluation for black if I had the tempo. Like if I had the tempo here, maybe I could like play b5. I don't know, but anyway, opponent plays b3 here, and I decided to go rook to c7 here, which is a mistake. The better move here, instead of rook to c7, was h5 or bishop to e5. It's either h5 or bishop to e5 here. Interesting. The idea is that if you take, then you go d takes e5 and open up the diagonal here, open up the d file, put a tempo on the knight. After, like, let's say the knight moves to d3, then b5 is very strong. Yep, b5, and you're opening everything up. So apparently bishop to e5 was the best move here. I wonder what happens if they ignore the trade. Like, let's say go here. You have to go bishop to f6, and I guess you got the bishop off the diagonal. Or h5 with an idea of h4. Right over here. That's what the engine says. But I played rook c7, and the reason why white is slowly getting better here is because I'm not really doing anything with the rook on c7 here. Like, maybe rook e8 would be better, because my idea was just to threaten this, but even then I'm still worse here. But I played rook c7 here with an idea maybe to set up a battery here in the future. But my opponent just plays rook d2, and what their idea is, they're just setting up a huge pressure on my weak d6 pawn here, because I played e6 earlier to block off that bishop. I decided to play knight to b8 here, and I'm slowly getting worse here because of how passive my pieces are. I'm just playing retreating moves. They played rook d1. I took the bishop and then played knight to c6 here, And then what did I play? Bishop to b7. So as you can see, I'm kind of just wasting moves here. Like I moved the bishop 3 times here, and then played rook c7. I don't really know what I'm doing anymore because I have no idea what to do here. Because only white's really having some sort of plan here. I just have to sit here and wait. I played knight to e5 here, pressuring the pawn here, so that the queen has to protect it. So they played bishop to g2. I played rook c d7, defending this pawn so that I can at least move the queen somewhere, maybe to a better spot. And I'm also trying to play d5 and get rid of this backwards d pawn. My opponent played queen to c3, preventing d5. And here I decided to play knight to c6. So I'm moving my pieces way too much here. Like I played knight to c6 after just playing knight to e5. So yeah, this is definitely terrible. My opponent plays h4, so I decided to play queen to f8, and after king to f2, play queen to g7 here. And my opponent here decided to go into the endgame. White's the only one really playing for the advantage here. So like, this is strategically losing for black. So I was kind of just waiting for a blunder here, trying to create some chances, maybe try to play f5 in the future. Or just play knight to c3. And actually, I didn't really like f5 here, because after like takes, and if I take like this, okay, now the e pawn is weak, and if I take like this, now this pawn's isolated. So I didn't really like that. I didn't really like the move f5 here. And if I take with the knight, then again the e pawn is weak here, and the d pawn. So after this, I played a6 here. a6, the idea is to prevent knight to b5 as well. Really annoying fork there. Now they can just play knight to b5, knight to a4 here, and then just pressure the pawn. And there's really not much to do here for black. Like they just play f4 here, and they're just gonna start pushing pawns here on the king side, and on the queen side try to break through here. I played bishop to c6 to prevent knight to a4, and here my opponent just plays e5. And here I played d takes e5, and this is where this is where it gets critical. After rook takes d7, I play rook takes d7, because if I play this, then I'm just completely worse here because of this annoying pin here. So after rook takes d7, rook takes d7 is the only move here. And after rook takes d7, bishop takes d7, my opponent plays f takes e5. And this is the critical moment where I had to play bishop to c6, and I would have maintained an equal position here. Because after like takes, if you try to go here, I think there's just this move, if I'm not mistaken, and then like taking here maybe, or maybe playing this first. What's the move here? Let me check. Oh, the move is b4, knight b5, and you can just take this, right? And this is just a draw because this pawn's weak. Well, but I could have went into this position, but what I didn't tell you is I was actually low on time. I had 5 minutes against my opponent's 5 minutes, because we were both thinking really slow here, and I miscalculated that poorly here, that after knight to c6, bishop takes c6, white will be completely better here, because they can bring the king to d4 here, and then start pushing the pawns on the queen side, and then create a passed pawn. So king to e3, f6, king to d4, and then b4 here. And then they're just better here, and I play b5, which is a huge mistake. The better move here is g5, and it would still be hard here for white to play for an advantage. Maybe just play b5. I think a takes. If you take with the knight, then there's g takes h4. And after takes, at least these two pawns are maintaining some sort of blockade. But, I didn't really like this move in the future, because it weakens this pawn. And not right now, though. But, it weakens this pawn, so I didn't really like the idea of this. But I played a mistake. b5 here, weakening the square. And then after takes, my opponent just plays king to c5 here, and they're completely winning here, because after bishop to d7, they can just play e takes f6, king takes f6, and knight takes b5. Key moment here. Um, while knight takes b5 is still winning, my opponent obviously didn't want to complicate the game, but they just had knight d6 anyway. But e takes f6 is a very good move here. After takes, knight takes b5. Ultimately resigned here because there's nothing here to do for black, other than sit there and then just get cooked. So yeah, definitely a nice game played by my opponent here. After c4, c5, this is my first time playing against this, and what I learned was that in this knight d4, knight f4 variation, queen to f5, and then if they play f3, well, yeah, queen d7, and then after bishop e3, b6 is the correct plan here. But the only thing I did wrong was after rook c1 was play bishop to b7 instead of bishop to a6 here, because in the Morocco you bind, you're never really gonna put a bishop on b7 here. Usually on a6 pressuring the c pawn. So that was the end of round 3. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and bye.